I've seen an increasing amount of people say that bad reviews are bad for the book community, so I took a look into their take just to see where they're coming from. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through it in this video, and then I'm going to let you know what I think here at the end. So negative book reviews have always been a pillar of the book community. You have negative book reviews and lists on places like Instagram and TikTok, as well as longer form content of the same thing on YouTube, and people who outline their opinions on books in websites and in blogs. These reviews are often meant to be both entertaining, potentially, because bad book reviews can oftentimes be very entertaining, but they're also meant to be useful to a certain extent because you don't want to buy books that you don't want to read. It sucks when you spend a ton of money on a book and then 50 pages into it, you want to put it down. So it saves you money sometimes to look at these reviews, and it saves you the time that you would spend reading it, as a lot of times you only have so much time to read books. So it appears like on a surface level, having negative reviews to where people can read them seems to make sense, but a lot of people have pointed out that has started going too far to the point where it becomes borderline unethical. Bad reviews often foster a lot of engagement. A lot of people will interact with them and watch them because they can be entertaining, and some people have begun wondering if some of these reviewers have a lot of empathy for authors and if what they're doing is just being a little bit rude. One thing that a lot of people have talked about as a rude thing for a reviewer to do is tagging an author in a negative review on a place like Instagram or TikTok, where your short form video that might be very dramatic about how much you dislike their book is taggable. An example of this was outlined in a Wired article where an author was enjoying a day. She got a notification on Instagram, and the notification sent her to a review where her book was called mediocre and irritating. Now, this was not a review that she went and sought out. She didn't write anything in about her book that might have brought these reviews up. This was directly sent to her via a tag. She outlines this experience for us and just tells us a little bit how she felt in this moment. And in the article, she says, "I'm more than aware there are valid criticisms to make of my work, but at the moment, I'm trying to write a book a year. I'm in the middle of a fairly painful third draft, so when I read an angry review of the book I finished 2 years ago, it really throws me creatively." That was an author's perspective, but there's readers that believe that this has gotten a little bit too much too, and there's many readers who have talked about how they just feel like their feeds, especially on shorter platforms like Instagram and TikTok, have become oversaturated with negative reviews that are really dramatic, to the point that when they see a negative review, they just scroll past it. As a side note, this is kind of why I think YouTube is the superior platform, because unless you're talking about YouTube Shorts, you're not going to be given a video you don't want to see. You are going to have to click on it in order to engage with it, which is why I, as a reader and as a person, just when I think of my own mental health to a certain extent, prefer to be on YouTube over the other platforms that serve shorter content. Other readers have expressed frustration with an increasing amount of reviews that appear to be books that have been DNF'd. There was one reader on Reddit, and she talked about how she felt frustrated when she saw a reviewer give a very detailed review talking about plot holes and other such things to a book that they didn't finish. This reader expressed that they felt like the reviewer would have not had those plot holes and those criticisms if the book had been finished. And this kind of goes into the fact that sometimes when people are trying to make content for the internet, they're trying to go really fast. You get rewarded on many platforms the faster you go, and they'll quickly DNF a book and still put a review up of that book that goes past saying this wasn't for me, I can't finish it, but goes into giving a review as if they had finished it. This is frustrating lots of people online. To be fair, it's not just negative reviewers that are criticized. On the flip side, there's a lot of reviewers who have decided that they just don't feel good personally giving negative reviews on their channels or on their pages because they're trying to foster a positive space and they just want to help out authors they enjoyed and kind of not talk about the other ones. This has been given criticism as well because it comes off to some people as being a little bit disingenuous because these reviewers are only posting their favorite books. Every book on their page appears to be 5 stars, and people question this to some extent as well. Another take I came across when I was just trying to engage with people's opinions on the internet and see where people are coming from is from, I think, Brit in her books, but she is really funny if you haven't seen any of her reels yet. She has like this whiteboard. Anyway, she had this concept that there are writer spaces, there are reader spaces, and there are shared spaces. And in her opinion, although she does not say what people can do, just to be clear, I don't like it when people misquote me. She says, do what you want. But in her opinion, she likes the concept of reader spaces, places like Fable and Goodreads and Storygraph is where you post those negative reviews. Writer spaces is a space for writers, and shared spaces would be platforms like Instagram, where she personally chooses to put positive things because of the fact that it's a shared space. There is the general public in that space, and it's better to help authors rather than criticize them too much when you're trying to get the general population into reading altogether. I don't necessarily fully agree with her take, but I do think that it was a decently well thought out take and worth mentioning here for sure. My own take, now that we've talked a little bit about the context of all of this, is negative reviews are really important. I will always stand up for people being able to share what they think about anything, because just freedom of speech and being able to feel like you can share what you're thinking is going to make any speech, any space, overall better. While I do respect that some people choose to create positive only spaces, I'm not against putting negative reviews on my own channel. I think when you put something out to the public, just like I'm putting this video out to the public, you always have a chance of someone disliking what you're doing, what you're creating, or what you're saying. Just like it's possible that an author might publish a book and then get some negative reviews, it's possible I might publish this video and get a ton of dislikes. And that is something that I accept by the fact that I put something out into the public space, and I think it's just something that everyone has to consider when they are engaging with the public space. Everyone always has the right to keep something private. Everyone always has the right to keep something purely a hobby. And I also respect that, because oftentimes people who are in tough spaces should probably preserve their mental health from the effects of putting something out into the ether. The internet can be really brutal though, and I think it's really important to consider people's feelings on a personal level. I believe in trying to be ethical. I believe in trying to be moral. I don't necessarily believe in forcing people to be nice all the time, even though it gets to a point where you probably should intervene. But my own personal opinion is you can definitely be rude with a bad book review. I think tagging an author is rude in a bad book review. I think that it can be really alienating when people say things like, you don't like this book, we can't be friends. Phrases like that have become a lot more popular, and there are more people other than me who have found those really, really trending phases to become more and more annoying over time, and sometimes a little bit alienating. I personally don't really like those. I prefer negative reviews that are a little bit more nuanced. When you tell me why you dislike a book, I am more than happy to hear. I am more than happy that you posted it wherever you want to post it. I don't necessarily align completely with that idea of reader spaces, but when you post that review, I prefer it when it's something that is detailed. I want to know why you disliked a book, because if you disliked a book, maybe I would love it for the reason you disliked it. It's much better to be able to talk about things than just throw them all together in a list and slap it online. And that this is not to get at any particular creator. I know that a lot of people prefer engaging with the short form content, so my opinion is not the only one that matters here, but I prefer when I know a little bit about why someone's posting a negative review rather than just needing to take their word for it. And just as I think someone should be allowed to post a negative review anywhere and it's not necessarily bad, and if you're being careful not to be rude, you can do a good negative review on any platform, I also think it's okay for people to choose to be positive only. It's not necessarily disingenuous. People are trying to create different spaces, and they have different goals, and they have different things they're trying to accomplish in their space versus someone else's space. So if you only ever want to post something positive, power to you. That's a good idea for you. My take is also that the best platform for any of this is YouTube. Not only does a reviewer have more time to outline why they liked or disliked a book, but a viewer is there for longer, hopefully, and able to hear a little bit more of the nuance and able to come to an opinion a little bit more on their own. Kudos to you for making it this far in this video. If you did, that probably means you have the attention span to watch a full review and engage in real conversations that get somewhere with books, rather than just alienating little phrases that might come across as a little crass or a little rude to many people. Anyway, that's my take. I want to know what you think of this discussion. Should we be posting negative reviews? Should people be able to choose if they want to post positive only? Does that look disingenuous to you? And if you agree with the idea of posting negative reviews, is there a way you think it should be done? Is there a way you think it might be more ethical? Or do you think people should really be able to say whatever they want because freedom of speech? Anyway, that's all from me today. See you in another video.